Well, 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 I'm trying to get this thing going to this evening. Trying to get this thing going this evening. Well, I guess I will just do the program and then have you guys listen to it later. You're listening to the Rational Man Show. I am the Rational Man. And I thank those of you who are paying attention to me this evening. I want to take a few minutes. We had started doing the program earlier, but I got caught up in some things this evening. And so as a result of that, I had to move it to the 8:30 hour. But I'm not sure who's all listening, who's all paying attention here. I think you guys can listen on YouTube. I'm sure I have it going on YouTube. Yeah. So excuse me. So if I'm just doing this just by myself, then I'll post it on the website and you can listen to it. You are listening to the Rational Man Show. I am the Rational Man. The reason that I'm coming on this evening is because I wanted to clear up some things that I spoke to last week or earlier, Wednesday. Let's see. Oh, let me close that out. Yeah. Okay. This is, I tell you, man, this is working this thing by myself is a chore. But the reason that I wanted to come on this evening is because I wanted to clear up some things that I said last week and just kind of clear it up. I was doing what is the gospel, and I mentioned something in one of the scriptures that I read, and I characterized or mischaracterized the gospel as being the Son of God, the good news being the Son of God. Well, that's not quite accurate. The gospel is indeed good news, but it is about the Son of God. It is about the Son of God. And I characterize the gospel as being the who in the scripture. I guess when I reread these scriptures this evening, it'll make more sense to you. However, I have plenty of verses that I want you to note this evening as we go through the lesson. And I'm basically going to reiterate the gospel and what the gospel actually is according to the teachings of Jesus. Now that the gospel, the definition of the gospel has remained the same in terms of the use of good news. However, because of religion, the actual essence of what the gospel was all about, what the good news is all about, has been moved and shaken and kind of have lost the flavor of what Jesus was talking about. So let me begin. Listen, brothers and sisters, the two most difficult times in a system. Oh, let's see here. The two most difficult times in a world is the time that the new world begins and the time that the new world ends. It's the beginning and the ending that makes it quite difficult. Similar to what let's see, I'm supposed to be sharing this. Let's try this. Let's see. It's not working. Oh my God. This is just, see. Well, I had plenty of scriptures here, and I'm just having a hard time today. So I'll just kind of go through them, and then you'll have to just pick up when I say it because I can't change the slides that I have. And I don't know why all of a sudden I could not change the slides. And that's not cool. However, let me point out that the two most difficult times in the changing of an age is the beginning of that age and the end of that age. The beginning and the ending of that age. I think I'm going to get off of this, and I almost want to just end the stream and go to Facebook and just start the whole thing over. I think I will. I'm not feeling too good about this. So I'm going to pause it, come back on a Facebook Live. It's just not feeling like I want it to feel this evening because I'm having a hard time with, let's see, if I can change these. I can't change them, see? And so that's my problem. The slides are very important, and I'm getting off to a rough start here. So I think I'm going to, let's try it again. Let me try it again. Let's try. I know what I got to do. Ha, 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 ha. All right. Now let me share this. Share it. There we go. Okay. Yeah, we got this now. All right. Please pardon me. Pardon me. Okay, we got this now. The two most difficult times in a changing world order is the beginning of that new order that's coming in and the ending of that order. Because on both of those endpoints, there's a lot of confusion about which way to go, what's true, what's not true, where are we supposed to be at this particular time. And so that's what makes a world change difficult. And in the Bible, it talks about in Genesis chapter 2, verses 4, it talks about generations of heavens and earth. So these generations mean the changes that come through the heavens and the earth. So you have these ages. And over these ages, and you can go back into the previous lesson that I did on Wednesday, where I went through what the ages are. The ages change, and changing ages have over them a mind or a God over that age. And so each age has a little God that is the God of that world or God of that age. And that's inclusive of the age we are in right now, which is now folding. Its time is past. And the God of the age goes away with the age or with the world, and a new age comes with a new God. And so in Christianity, they warn you about a new age because the God of this age does not want to leave. And so knowing what you know not, he warns you in advance that the God that's coming, the age that's coming, is evil. And so you should watch out for it and you should not pay attention to it. And so this warning deceive a lot of people who don't know that everything has to go through this process. Worlds change, you're born, you live, you pass on, and if you want to come back, you do that, or if you want to have another experience, you do that. This is true for stars and bugs and birds and universes. Everything in the material world or in the time has to go through this process. And so that's what makes it difficult. So I want to put something before you if you are concerned about a new age rising. You have to ask the question, if the coming age is evil, then that would make this age that we're in right now good. If the coming age is opposite from the age we are in now and evil, that means that the age we're in right now is good and desirable. And so I'll let you be the judge of that. But I'm going to talk about the gospel as Jesus taught the gospel. And first, I want to share with you a verse out of the Course in Miracles about how this whole idea of sin and death entered into our thinking. I'm reading from a Course in Miracle on a verse called a tiny mad idea. Now, why isn't it shifting? Oh, God. Let's see. A tiny mad idea. Okay. A Course in Miracles is a vehicle that help us. It's a course. It literally is a course that help us to practice the teachings of Jesus in our daily lives. We read about it in the Bible, but it takes practice. But here is how this idea of sin and death came about. It says, into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea, at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In his forgetting did the thought become a serious idea and possible of both accomplishment and real effects. And so it says that in eternity, a thought came into eternity. And this thought was a tiny, mad idea. So it had two components, this thought. It was very, very small, and it was a mad idea. In other words, an insane idea. And when this idea came into the mind of the Son of God, he remembered not to laugh. In other words, he didn't laugh at the idea. He forgot to laugh. And in his forgetting, this tiny mad idea of sin and death became serious in his mind. And it became so serious that he thought that it was possible for this tiny mad idea to be accomplished and actually have an effect on him. And so the tiny mad idea that the Son of God had made him believe, made him hallucinate and believe that sin was real, that death was real, that it was insane, because he at the same time is understanding that he has the nature of his Father, and his Father is eternal and is sinless. And since he is the image and likeness of his Father, he also shares those characteristics. But there is a thing in the Course in Miracles. Also, the basic premise of the Course in Miracles is nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Because nothing real can be threatened for the very fact that it is real, and that the real cannot become unreal, nor can the unreal become real. The peace of God is in that whole idea. And so the entire creation, because of this tiny mad idea that crept into this eternity, and when the tiny mad idea came, the instant that it came, God, the Father, put the solution there for the Son of God to take, and the solution is at the same spot that the problem is at. But the Bible talks about that the entire creation is groaning and travailing and waiting for the manifestation of the Son of God. The whole creation, because the Son of God is hidden as a result of his tiny acceptance of this tiny mad idea, which is impossible to accomplish and impossible to have an effect on him. It has caused the creation to groan and to travail in misery as the Son of God teaches himself and teach his brother the idea of sin and death. And so the Bible says that the entire creation is groaning and travailing and waiting for the manifestation or the revelation of the Son of God. So turn your Bibles to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Oh, I'm just having a hard time today, guys. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. And let's see. We're going to start reading at verses 3 and 4. But before we go there, I want to remind you of something in the book that speaks about how the Son of God comes back to his sanity. In Romans chapter 12, verse 2, it says to be not conformed to this age or this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and the perfect will of God. So to be conformed to this world or this age means that you set your sights and set your mind to believe that the earth or the physical world or the material configuration of things is true, and that the ideas and that the mind or your mind is false. To conform to the world is you believing that the physical world is true and that the mind is false, that the mind is an illusion and the physical world is a reality. So going to 2 Corinthians now, 2 Corinthians chapter 2 or 4, and I'm reading out of the King James Version. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. Now, like I said, I misspoke the other evening and made you think that the gospel was the he, and I neglected to say that the gospel is good news about a he. The gospel is the good news about the image of God. And the image of God, as we read in Luke chapter 3, verse 38, the image of God is the male and the female that was created in the beginning. And so the gospel of Christ is the who. The who is Christ. The gospel is about Christ. The good news is about Christ. And this Christ is the image of God. And if you did not believe that the Christ is the image of God, the evil one or the God of this world comes and blinds your mind to the reality. And when he blinds your mind to the reality, because if he did not blind your mind to the reality, then the light or knowledge of the gospel of Christ would shine into your mind, and you would not know that this gospel is about you and your nature. The gospel of Christ is about your nature. And Jesus was the first of many, well, he was one of many, who came with the message about the true nature of creation. And that the gospel or the Christ is the nature of creation. And the evil one, when he blinds your mind, he blinds your mind to the fact that that this is true, that the gospel of Christ or the Christ is your nature, and he replaces your nature with his nature, and his nature is called sinner. And whereas the gospel of Christ or Christ, the nature of Christ is life, the nature of sin or sinner is death. And so the God of this world's ministers speak to you in terms of the nature of their father. And Jesus once said to them, "You are of your father, the devil, and the deeds of your father you will do." And every time he speaks a lie. And there is no truth in him. And so he blinds your mind and then seal that blindness by putting into your thinking, that you are not the image and likeness of God, but that you are the dust of the earth. That is the seal of the God of this world. If you were to go to the 3rd chapter of John, you will read a story about the temptation of Jesus. And the Bible says in the 3rd chapter of John, then was Jesus led up into the wilderness by the Spirit to be tempted of the devil. And when he found himself in the wilderness, Jesus being the tempter came and he tempted him to take on his nature. And the way he gets you to take on his nature is by making you believe that what you do is proof of your identity as the Son of God. And so if you turn these stones into bread, that act will prove that you, Jesus, are the Son of God. And once you put your identity into the material world as proof of the Son of God, then he can then take you further and make you believe that you are not the image and likeness of God. You are the dust of the earth, because your identity is in the dust of the earth, because I proved that your identity is in the dust of the earth, because it took the dust of the earth, you turning the bread or the stone into bread, to give yourself life. but the Son has life in himself. And the Son has the ability to lay his life down and pick his life up. Life is in the Son. And so if Jesus had turned that stone into bread, he would have been taking the first step into renouncing his nature as Son of God and putting it into the stone or the material world. Let me help you further with that. In the book of James, in the Bible, it says, let no man say when he is tempted, this is in James chapter 1, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For God does not tempt any man, neither can God be tempted by any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away and enticed. So see, Jesus, as the book of Hebrews says, was tempted in all points like we are, yet without sin. So Jesus was tempted when he was enticed and he was drawn away. The temptation is the urge to be drawn away from the reality of Son of God. Drawn away and putting your identity in something else. So the next time Jesus was tempted, it was the same temptation. If you be the Son of God. He took him to a high mountain and he said, I will give you all the world. Because see, he was the God of the world. So he had the power to give Jesus all the world, just like he has the power to give you all the world if you bow down to him. But he said, if you be the Son of God, this was again the temptation to renounce your nature as Son of God. And so the good news, brothers and sisters, the gospel is about the nature of the Son of God. I know what our preachers have told us. They told us that God could not forgive sin. And it's ironic that God doesn't know sin, but yet God is holding sin against his Son. And he was so unforgiving that somebody had to die to pay for sin. And it was only after this death of an innocent for the guilty, which goes against your very nature, that the guilty should get away and the innocent be punished for the deeds of the guilty. That goes against your nature, and you know better than that. I don't have to explain that. If someone else did something and the police came to your home and dragged your children out of your home, then you would know that that's unjust, because your child is not guilty. And so you know by nature that the guilty should not suffer for the innocent, or the innocent should not suffer for the guilty. But how do they say, brothers and sisters, reason with me? How is it that they say that God demanded payment for sin and then turned around and that was the only way that God could forgive sin? This is preposterous. Because if you receive payment, there is no need for forgiveness. You got paid. If you owed the light company some money and you had only monopoly money, and the light company doesn't take monopoly money, but somebody had the cash that the light company did take, and they offered to pay your bill on your behalf, and the light company offered to accept the payment, the light company did not forgive the debt. The light company got paid for the debt. Do you see that? So again, It's preposterous to think that God at the same time got paid and forgave the same debt. You either can get paid or you can forgive. And when you forgive, it's as though the debt never existed in the first place. And since you say that God knows no sin, then it's obvious that God had no debt against his son. And that is the good news, that you are today exactly like you were in the beginning. I know you don't think that. I know you don't think that because you have been told that your deeds is what defines you. But the reason you do your deeds is because of what you think your nature is. The deeds that you do that you call evil, you do because you believe that at the core of your nature, your spirit, that you are evil and sinful, and you can't help it. And so the good news is that you are not. You are not evil, nor are you sinful. So this is the good news. The gospel is the good news. It is not good news to think that a father had his son murdered to pay for the deeds of someone else who was guilty. How could you trust a father like that? How could you have confidence in a father like that? You would not have confidence if you suspected that your father would have you murdered, you being innocent, that he would stand by and watch you get murdered to pay for the misdeeds or sin of the guilty. You would throw that man in jail for doing that. So the good news is that it never happened. The good news is God is not mad at you. The good news is that you are today what you were at your creation. The good news is that the kingdom of heaven is within you. The good news is that you can come boldly to the throne of grace and get wisdom and get insight into your nature and function out of that and have peace with your brother. That, my brothers and sisters, is the good news. So now turn to Mark chapter 10 and mark it down in your book. I'll read it, but my slides are not working, but I'm reading it. Mark chapter 10, verses 28 through 31, we're going to read. Then Peter began to say unto Jesus, Lo, we have left all and have followed you. And Jesus answered and said, Verily or truly, I say to you, there is no man that has left house or brethren or sisters or fathers or mother or wife or children or lands for my sake, comma, and the gospels. But he shall receive 100-fold now in this time, houses and brethren and sisters and mothers and children and lands with persecutions, and in the world to come eternal life. But many that are first shall be last. Now this verse is rich, brothers and sisters. This verse is rich because the verse 29, it says, he's telling you that if you leave, any man that thinks he's leaving his houses and brothers and sisters and fathers, children, and lands for his sake. Now, his sake is because they knew him, they saw him, he was standing there, so they could say his sake because he was standing right there. And the Gospels, if you leave them for his sake, you can't leave him for his sake. You leave him for the gospel's sake. You're leaving brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers. See, you didn't know him in the flesh. So you're leaving for the gospel's sake. That's why he had for my sake and the gospel's. It's interchangeable. They're interchangeable. If you leave them, you shall receive 100-fold now in this time. If houses and brother and sisters and mothers and children and lands. Now, let me just hone in on that. What he was telling us when he taught, because Jesus just didn't say this and didn't explain to us what he was talking about. He explained what he was talking about. He said that if you are willing to leave all of that, you will come to the realization of who your houses and your brethren and your sisters and your mothers and your children and lands, you will understand who those are. And with that, you will get persecutions, because the ones who you thought were your brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers and wives and children and the lands you thought, you will come to the realization that that was not it. But that was the material world offered to you by the evil one in exchange for your reality as the Son of God. You exchanged it. And that's what he was telling us. He's saying, listen, I'm telling you that what you think is your brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers, that is based in the material world. But you will understand who truly is, and you're going to receive 100-fold in this time. You will understand in this time houses. You're going to receive houses. You're going to receive brothers and sisters and mothers and children and land. But also you're going to have persecution from those who you once thought was your brothers and sisters. You're going to have persecution from as you abandon the material world as the reality and understand that you are reality. You will be persecuted by the matrix or the world of the Lord God, or the world of the God of this world, because you have literally done what it said to do in Romans chapter 12, verse 2. You have not conformed to this world, but you have transformed, because your mind was renewed when you left all of that for the sake of the gospel. So leaving the world for the sake of the gospel is not renouncing, as it were, your mama and your brother. He wasn't telling us to renounce or denounce them or leave them and go off. He was telling us he wanted us to come to the understanding of the reality of who these things really are, where they really are. They are not outward coming inward. They are inward and then outward. And you will understand the 100-fold, because you will come to the realization that all is yours. Because even in John chapter 1, verse 1, it tells you that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God, and all things were created by him. It's not talking about a book. It is talking about a hymn. You have transcended all of that. And then it goes on to read, it says that in him was light, and this light was the light of men. And the light shines in every man who comes into the world. The same light lights every man that come into the world. If you come into the world, the light is in you. And then it went on in John to talk about Jesus, because that's who they were looking at. He's the one brought the message to them. That's why they started talking about Jesus. But the light comes with every man that come into this world. See, when you really understand it and get it, you will understand this hundredfold that Jesus was talking about. That you would gain all of that, because you will come to the understanding of who your brother is, who your sister is, who your mother is. And it's the gospel of peace. And that's how you have peace, when you come to the understanding. It's called the gospel of peace. And so all temptation is the temptation to renounce your identity as son of God and take on identity as the dust of the earth. Now, I want to take you now to Ephesians. Ephesians, where is it? Did I put this in here? Oh, I'm going to have to do some real editing here. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 through 17. And it starts out, I'm not going to quote it because I don't have a slide here. My slide is just not sliding. It's not sliding right. My slide is not sliding right. Why isn't it coming up? Okay. Well, it starts out, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11 through 17. Write it down and read it when we finish here. It talks about be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And it talks about, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but we are wrestling against the rulers of the darkness of this age. We are wrestling against principalities and against powers and the rulers of the darkness, or the God of this world. And there are many. He has minions. He has prophets to keep you blind to your nature. And so we're wrestling not against flesh and blood, but we're wrestling at the reality level, the level of spirit of which you are. And so as a result of this wrestling, he says, take on the whole armor of God. And it talks about the helmet of salvation, which is an understanding of what salvation is. Salvation is merely the realization that the Son of God is today what he was at his creation. You take on the breastplate of righteousness, which protects the heart, and the heart is symbolic of your center. And if you can understand this, the heart has a mind of its own. The physical heart sends out electrical impulses and instructions of its own. But the breastplate of righteousness, this righteousness as a result of your reality as son of God, you are in right standing with your Father. You are not enemies. And it talks about having your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Now, the word shod, S-H-O-D, is a special kind of shoe. It's specially made. It's a specially made shoe. And you're wearing these shoes because these shoes is the preparation to of the gospel of peace, or the good news of peace. So everywhere you go, you bring the good news of peace. And how do you bring the good news of peace? You bring it by first seeing the reality of Son of God in yourself and then your brother. Once you see it in yourself, you will see it in your brother. Once you see it in your brother, you will see it in yourself. It doesn't matter which way you see it. If you see it in yourself first, you will then see it in your brother. If you see the Son of God in your brother, you will see the Son of God in yourself, because no thought leaves its source. A thought remains with its source. For example, I use the idea of a projector. And a movie projector is showing on the screen, but the movie is really not on the screen. The movie is inside the projector. If the screen moved away from where the projector was showing, you would still see the projection at the same spot where the screen was. So the movie is still inside the projector, not on the screen. And so when you see your brother, you are extending this movie to your brother. And you see the Son of God in your brother as you see it in yourself, or see him in yourself, as you come to the realization that you are Son of God. And there is a story in the Bible where Jesus illustrated this when Peter, he asked them, who do men say that he is? He wanted to know what people were saying about him. And he said, some say you this, some say you that. And he said, well, who do you say I am? And Peter said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, flesh and blood. He first blessed him. He said, you blessed, man, because nobody told you this knowledge. Not even me, Jesus. I didn't even tell you this. And I've been with you all this time. You got this knowledge from my Father who is in heaven. So Peter went to heaven, and heaven is within you. Peter went inside himself and met with the Father, and the Father told Peter that he was Son of God. And when Peter came to that realization, he looked at Jesus and saw Son of God in Jesus. He saw Christ in Jesus. He could not have seen Christ in Jesus unless the movie was first in his head. And as it was in his head, he saw the movie being reflected on Jesus. And so he said, you are the Christ. But Peter had to come to the realization that he too shared the nature of Christ first before he was able to see this nature in Jesus. So the preparation of the gospel of peace is to see Christ in yourself, see Christ in your brother, and as you see this, you bring peace. So the good news is how you see yourself and your brother. Now, one last thing, and I'm out of here. We are at the end of an age, and they're running around in circles because they're scared. Because those who have held this world up and have benefited and has been given the world by the God of the world know that when the world passes on, they pass on with it, because they're going to, it's sort of like musical chairs. You know, the music has stopped and you don't have a chair. So this is illustrated in the book of Exodus. In the book of Exodus, when Moses came to the understanding of who he was, and before he understand his total mission, Moses walked among the people and he saw the condition that the people were in. And the first thing he had to do was to get them to get along with each other, because you're not going to go into freedom with a crazy mind. So the first thing Moses had to do, as the world of Pharaoh was shutting down, Moses had to get the children of Israel to get along with each other, to treat each other right. And you see this in this story where two guys were fighting and he came and corrected them. And that's when he realized how terrible, how difficult the situation was. And so you ain't gonna be raptured out of here and you angry at Sister Sue and brother can't do right. That's not gonna happen. The preachers have told you this phony rapture story to make you believe that you get to drew all kind of dirt and raise all kind of hell here, and you're gonna get swooped up into heaven and go rejoice ever after. No, brother, the way through it, the way out of it is through it. Name me a problem where God took you out of it. God took you through the problem. This is why in the Psalms 23rd chapter, it says, yes, I'm walking through the valley of the shadow of death, but I ain't fearing no evil because you're with me. He's walking with you through the valley of the shadow of death. You're not going to be swooped up out of here. You're going to go through it. You're going through it. The rapture lie that they have told you is only to give you hope in the future, to keep you from ever questioning the effectiveness or the ineffectiveness of the doctrine that's been laid on you. So they give you these fantasies and fairy tales and all kind of silly things that you know didn't happen, can't happen, won't happen. You denounce what you know is the truth and take hope in something that you know is not going to happen. And so the way out of it is through it. He's going to take us through it, and we're going to be purified as we go through it. So this is why we have to come to the reality of the Son of God in you. This is why it says, Christ in you, the hope of glory. Come to the realization that you are not a sinner. Come to the realization that your brother is not a sinner. Come to the realization that you are the image and the likeness of God. Come to the realization that you are not the dust of the earth. Now, this may be difficult to do because we have practiced a lot of acting out. So there are technologies in place, brothers and sisters. There's a technology that's available that has the power and the process to address our obvious mental health issues that we have had as a result of our experience, and a process to help us to transcend the world and address our spiritual needs. But we have to be willing to admit that the way we have gone has not given us what we want. The way we have gone has not provided us with the happiness and the joy that was said by Jesus you would have as a result of following him. And in case you think that I am saying too much and he's blaspheming, let me remind you again of something that Jesus told us. He told us that the things that he did, we would do, and greater, because he goes to the Father. So he has taught us about the Christ, about the nature, about and given us the courage and the power. He said before he left, I'm giving you the power. And so why would you think it's strange if I function and speak and believe and think in that power? Hey, listen, I'm going to come back on Sunday and we're going to go through some more stories, especially about this Garden of Eden story. So join me 9:45 Sunday morning, and I'll see you then. God bless.